and San Juan. Puerto Rico is the most beautiful island you can find in America, I would assume. We have Brian, Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Investment Specialist from Invest Puerto Rico, who will be presenting the startup ecosystem. San Juan is the 333rd top ecosystem globally, but second top in Caribbean. Thank you, Brian. Floor is yours.
Great. All right, I'll just share my screen here. Happy to be here to connect with everyone. I'll be going through quickly, just highlighting there's a lot going on in Puerto Rico and a lot that people don't know. I believe you can see my screen now. And kind of our motto right now and over the last couple of years has been game changers welcome home. Puerto Rico's quickly becoming a top area for innovation and collaboration. A lot of interesting and entrepreneurs and investors have been moving to the island. One for the community and ecosystem, which I'll hit on in a little bit, as well as because of interesting tax incentives that, in my opinion, and probably can be backed up by data, are the best in the United States and in some cases the world. I work with Invest Puerto Rico. I actually moved to Puerto Rico initially with a tech company as a tech entrepreneur. And after we sold that, I've been so in love with the ecosystem here that now I'm working in economic development to do that. So hopefully that's a testament to some of you of what we have going on. But Invest Puerto Rico is the official business and investment attraction organization for the island. So we're actually a nonprofit, but we are legally mandated and tasked with bringing new companies, new investment to the island of Puerto Rico and creating jobs. So if any of you are exploring to expand out of your current locations or move out of your current locations to a new one, we're actually the perfect people to talk to. And you can find a ton of information at our website, which I'll share at the end. But we help facilitate, connect with whatever players on the island that you need to, whether it's government, service providers, ecosystem players, you name it, and help you kind of map out the move. So I'll be hitting very briefly on these different value proposition areas, talk about the business climate, talent and education, location, our infrastructure, our landing pads and support organizations, taxes, and lifestyle. So just a high level, there's a little over 3 million people on the island of Puerto Rico. There's actually more Puerto Ricans in the United States mainland than there are in Puerto Rico. We are a U.S. jurisdiction. We're a territory, not a state, which actually puts us in a very unique situation to offer, as I mentioned before, the best tax benefits in the country, which I'll go over in a couple of slides. We are more populous than a number of the different states within the United States, but we are a very small island in the Caribbean. Bilingual, bicultural, a very good nexus bridge point between both North and South America. Our economy is very diverse, by far the most diverse within the Caribbean and even a lot of Latin America. You can see almost half of it's manufacturing. We have a history of decades of being one of the top biosciences manufacturers, whether it's pharmaceuticals or medical devices in the entire world. 95% of pacemakers in the world are actually made in Puerto Rico. So things like that, we're a powerhouse when it comes to that. And given that we have very strong logistics and access globally. So this just gives you an idea. And being an island as well, having a diversified economy makes us a lot more resilient, whether there's a natural disaster or COVID hits or anything. Having a diversified economy helps everyone stay afloat better than being overly dependent on tourism, for example. As I mentioned, we're a U.S. jurisdiction. In most areas, will function the same as a state, except for taxation reasons. So whether it's IP protection, patents, things like that, all same as the rest of the United States. But for taxes, we're treated as a foreign jurisdiction, and that allows for some very interesting things. But before I get into that, just highlighting, we have, as I mentioned, very strong infrastructure 3 international airports. You can get across the island. We have connectivity throughout the island. We have 3 5G networks all across the island, LoRa, IoT, other types of connectivity. So there's a lot on that front. Major companies that you may have heard of have been based here for a while. Microsoft, for example, has been here since 1989. If you've ever used a Microsoft product, especially if you're in the Americas, it actually comes from Puerto Rico. We just helped Amazon Web Services set up their Caribbean global headquarters last year here on the island, among many others. Jumping into the benefits, because that is the incentives that we have, is one of the primary reasons that the ecosystem, startup ecosystem, has been jump-started over the last 10 years. In addition to the normal natural talent we have on the island, which I'll hit on, we have very interesting incentives. There's 420 pages of them. I won't go through all of them with you right now, but here's a highlight of just some. So for most industries, and there's incentives for renewable energy, creative industries like movie making or video games, exporting services, if you're exporting any type of service off the island, manufacturing, hospitality, and development. So there's a lot of different types of incentives, and the base corporate tax rate is 4%. Again, there's no federal income tax like in the States. So if you're thinking of moving or setting up an office, a satellite, or a headquarters in the United States, I actually suggest looking at Puerto Rico first, because you can still be part of the US. Anything made here is made in the USA. However, you don't have to pay federal income taxes either personally or as a company, which is very interesting. If you do research and development, which there's a lot that's happening and starting to happen even more on the island, you can get up to 50% of your research and development costs that occur on the island back in a tax credit. If you're a startup losing money and don't need a tax credit, we have an open market you can sell them on for 88 to 93 cents on the dollar. So you can actually be getting a lot of your expenditures back and putting that right back into your company. And for founders, and this is one of the reasons that I moved along with the ecosystem and community here, is from the time you become a bona fide resident, you don't have to pay under Act 60, the incentives code. You don't have to pay capital gains tax, dividend, interest, distributions. So let's say you build your company from being worth nothing to a unicorn and sell it, you actually wouldn't have to pay any tax on that gain. So that's also very compelling from a founder and an investor standpoint as well. However, none of this would be possible without the strong baseline of talent that we have. So we have over 80 universities on the island, which is crazy if you think about it for an island. But as you can see, the majority are actually in some sort of STEM field of engineering or scientific or biomedicine. And that's why we have so much manufacturing. We have very strong, as I mentioned, in biomedical, but also aerospace and advanced manufacturing. Those are other key areas of focus and strength that we have on the island. All of that supports what's been growing over the last 10 years and even accelerated more in the last 5, which is the growing entrepreneurial ecosystem. From the local universities and companies and startups starting to think more innovative, and entrepreneurship becoming more part of the culture when historically it wasn't, mixed with the infusion of people and innovators who have moved here, maybe for tax incentives or to connect with some of these other stronger, more established companies on the island. I recently counted, we have 42 incubators and accelerators or entrepreneurial programs, which is also crazy, but it's great because we have ones that are energy focused, that are food focused, that are prepping to raise capital focused. So there's getting to be a good amount of organizations, support all across the island. And a lot of these accelerators are open globally, so you don't have to be from Puerto Rico to participate. Some of them you do, but others are open globally, such as Parallel 18. We've been working a lot the last few years on landing pads, very R&D focused and innovation focused. These are just 3 of about a dozen, half a dozen that we're working on right now. A lot of them are in biomedical, for example, we call it the MSRC or Ocean Bio. But then we also have multiple groups, Hub 787, Engine 4, that are very connected with IoT, 3D printing, drones, robot gardens, like awesome things, makerspaces, connectivity, telecommunications. We have landing pads for all of those. And then blockchain as well. We have a lot of Web3 and blockchain, both on the investment as well as the development side happening, including accelerators that are specifically focused around Web3 and blockchain. I'm going to hit on one other thing while we're on here. You can visit our website. When it comes to funding, we've also launched a platform called Impeller, and I'll share the links and multiple links in the chat, so I don't expect you to remember everything. But we created a platform called Impeller. Any deal that's in Puerto Rico, as long as it meets a minimum level of quality, can list to raise capital. And we have about 1,000 registered investors right now, all interested in deploying capital into the island of Puerto Rico. Estimated about $1 billion worth of interest. They're just looking for the right types of projects. So whether it's a homegrown project or a company expanding to Puerto Rico, those could also list and get exposure into the ecosystem. So to recap everything, and if I was to distill it down, Puerto Rico is a very unique jurisdiction. It's a nexus between the Americas. It's a very good place to have a headquarters or second headquarters, particularly for this half of the world, given that it's between North and South America, and has all the protections from the US when it comes to patents and judicial and things like that. But for tax reasons, not subject to the federal taxes in the same way. So it's kind of that unique sweet spot that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. I'm happy to connect with any of you. I'll share my LinkedIn link in the chat as well to continue the conversation. And thanks for having me.
Thank you, Brian, for the mind-blowing presentation. It's so many great things to offer. Tax incentives, 80 universities, the sixth highest availability of scientists, and this is just amazing. It sounds like it's becoming the next Las Vegas of startups and innovation, but more educated people. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's a lot. We just got to get more of it listed on StartupBlink to show that. So, but that's why we're here, right? So
thank you.